Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper. All right, and welcome back. Thanks for downloading another episode. As always, you can find us on Twitter at @Topper_Talk. I've got Tyler here with me. We've got a lot to talk about today, man. The spring football game was today. We're going to really, kind of comb over that, what we saw, what we liked, who stood out to us. But before we get into that, I want to circle back and revisit the first episode that we released last week. We've really had a lot of good feedback from that. Just a lot of positive feedback from friends, followers on Twitter, people that know us. Really, it's really been much appreciated. Just all the positive feedback, some constructive feedback that we've had to make ourselves better. At the end of the day, we're just two guys that are just doing this for fun. It's a hobby for us. We're not professional podcasters by any means. We just love talking about WKU sports. We're not doing this for the views. We're not doing this for the listens. I could just sit here and talk with Tyler all day. If nobody listens, I'll sit here and talk to him. We did it today at the spring game, after the spring game. It's just something we like to do, we enjoy doing, and we're just going to keep doing it, and if people subscribe and listen and enjoy what we're doing, then even better. But we do really appreciate, again, everyone tuning in, listening, and really just enjoying the content that we have. We really have a lot of big hopes for this podcast going forward. We're going to try to put together just really consistent, solid information and content for everyone to consume and enjoy. Now, with that being said, let's dive in to the spring game. Man, it was obviously it was a really, really perfect weather day on campus. It was, high of 67. It was sunny, a little overcast, but it was, perfect football weather. The vibe on campus was just really just a lot of people buzzing around. Baseball had a series with FAU. Softball had a series with FAU. There was just a steady stream of traffic trying to get to the spring football game. So, really just a perfect day for spring football and just kind of getting to take a first glance at this new toy, this new version of the WKU football team that we're going to see. Tyler, man, go ahead, jump in here. Give me your thoughts, just on the day overall as a whole, just as you got to the game and spring game and onto campus, just what was your feeling? How did you like the atmosphere, the mood on campus today?
Oh, it was a real beautiful day on the hill. It was a slight breeze, beautiful and sunny. There's a lot of people on campus because, like you said, softball, baseball game. I wish more people could have been at the football game itself, but hey, whenever you got teams playing, you got to support them and show them all that you can, that, you have their backs. I do wish that the softball or the football team could have had some rosters up for people in the spring game, because that was kind of hard, surfing the internet, trying to find numbers and names to mix with the players on the field. But other than that, it was a fabulous day at the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, man. It's exciting. We know this WKU football team, this offense, Titan Helson led team. We know it's going to be fun. We know it's going to be fast paced. We know it's going to be a lot of points, good quarterback play, good wide receivers. But at the same time, there's a lot of new names, a lot of new faces, just people we've seen that, they're just a name on the transfer portal, somebody that's been added to our roster, and we haven't really got to kind of pull the curtain back and get to see them in live game action. So this was that first time for getting to do that. I came away impressed. We'll dive into kind of each of those layers of the offense here shortly. But just overall, man, Tyson Helton has absolutely done it again. Just from an aerial view, just looking down at the team, he is becoming just a portal king, man. He identifies what he needs. Obviously we're going to lose players every year, whether they exhaust their eligibility, whether some players transfer out to other schools, take other opportunities, or just whatever it may be. But he has become really, really good at identifying what he needs, who he needs, and how they're going to fit onto our team and just be productive. If they were getting underutilized or just overshadowed or over recruited, just whatever at their previous stops, he's really over the last few years just found a lot of great pieces that have really fit in well with what we do and what we want to do. And you really can't say enough. And that not only applies to the players, but also the coaching staff that we've had turnover. And honestly, that's a symptom of a successful and winning program is other schools want to come and take your coaches. And while that happens, and it's unfortunate, and it's going to continue to happen, Helton has been very just on point with identifying that next person of talent, to fill those holes, keeping people, on the staff that he can promote into those positions, or if that's not possible, finding someone outside and bringing them in. And, you got to commend Helton. He's done a great job since day one on campus. I really wish he had been hired sooner, after Braum left. I have receipts for that. But now he's here and he's successful. So Tyler, what were your thoughts, just offense and defense, what you saw on the field? We'll dive into the exact positions here shortly, but what was your just quick takeaways from just seeing the team in live action on the field today?
Well, I thought the offense was rolling today. Helton, past few years, he always has been able to load up with different weapons that can really just hit you downfield whenever he needs it and get you them yardage and touchdowns. And he brought that up tempo style of play for this season. On defense, they did a good job. They got some stops. They really swarmed to the ball. And, of course, they are limited by letting up and, playing two-hand touch on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly what we saw, and I think it's really going to be a fun season. So now we're going to dive into kind of each position group and just break down what we saw, who we saw, what we liked. We're going to start with the quarterback group. Obviously, Austin Reed was out there leading the charge to start the game, but we saw every quarterback on the roster get some time on the field. So, Tyler, if you want to break down, what did you see? Who'd you like? What's your biggest takeaways from that quarterback group?
Well, I want to start off by saying that today, every quarterback, in their series that they led, every team scored on offense, which is really good. Of course, Reed, Reed did what Reed does. He gets the ball on target and hit the receiver when he has to and where he has to, so they can just turn up field and go. Beltcamp, he made some good passing, and he did look more comfortable in the pocket whenever he was in. Bronson, he hit some receivers and scored a touchdown or two. He seemed right at home in the pocket and was making good reads. His team was actually the first one to score after Reed and Velkamp was in there. Whenever he handed the ball off to Young and Young ran it in. Taggart, he had to scramble some to get his throws off. I'm hoping that he has legs like his dad did and he can just, scamper whenever he needs to and run up sideline. And Helton, he drove the ball down, and he made some good passes. He made some good plays, and he actually thrown the probably one of the highlights of the day was that pass to Aline, and he did that little tiptoe back in the corner touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I agree with you. Every single quarterback looked really good today. Reed had a couple throws that were, kind of some tight window, maybe forced him in. If it was a game, you might have been, holding on to your chair going, ooh, I don't know about that one. But that's who Reed is. That's why we love him, man. He's a little bit of a gunslinger. But, when you lead the nation in passing, you probably have a little bit of a green light, a little bit of a long leash to do that. I agree with you. Veltkamp looked really good. It looked like he filled out some of his frame. He's a bigger guy, local kid, South Warren, been on campus now for a full year plus, was an early enrollee last year. So really excited about what the future may hold for him. Obviously he may see some game time. Hopefully it's not an injury situation, but if we are blowing people out like I do expect, I'd love for him to eventually get a chance to get on the field. The same with Bronson. He really looked really good. I hadn't looked at a lot of tape from him. I know me and you were talking before we recorded. You were telling me about his stats coming into this season from Weber State, and the kid can obviously sling it. And we identified that. Helton identified that, and what quarterback wouldn't want to come play at WKU, where for the last 10 years you've had the nation's leader in passing yard and touchdowns. I mean, that the system recruits itself, and I think we have a good option there, and it's good to have a full room of just talented guys. Helton, again, he looked good. Had a couple good drives. Taggart, like you said, he did get mobile. Was getting outside the tackle boxes and running a little bit. Kind of having to scramble and check down. He may have been the most unpolished of the group, but he probably is. He is the newest to the system. Probably the rawest athlete that we have in that position. But again, he's someone that could come in, be a gimmick, wildcat type guy. Could line up in various positions. You can tell he's athletic. So I just was really excited and really impressed by what we saw with all the quarterbacks. We already know, we can assume that Austin Reed's QB1 game one. We can go ahead and pencil that in. Likely going to happen. Larry Bird showing up saying, who's coming in second place. That's basically what Austin Reed's walking into that room doing. But I think he's going to be a good teammate, a good captain, and help train these guys to eventually supplant him. I mean, he's not going to be here forever. His last year of eligibility, we hope he doesn't get injured and someone gets forced into action. But, we just want to make sure we have that next guy ready and always have that next man up mentality for whoever needs to get in there and play. And what I saw today, I was impressed and very comfortable with, whatever those options are and whatever it comes to this season, because I think all those guys look good. And they've got the rest of the summer and fall ball to continue to polish that. That competition is going to bring out the best in everybody, and high tide raises all ships, one of my favorite sayings. And the tide is going to be high in that quarterback room because there's a lot of talent there, a lot of good arm talent. Moving on, let's talk about the running backs. Again, we saw several guys rotate in. They all kind of seem like different styles of runners, and all seem very productive. So, Tyler, give me your assessment. What did you see and like from the group of running backs that were on the field today?
Man, Step, he is a monster. That dude right there. I could watch him run all day long. He was running it right up the middle. He would go out and he would catch if he had to out in the flats or maybe a crossing route. But he's great. Young, he's another running back that I saw. He scored some touchdowns today. He seemed like he was going to be a good runner. Another transfer. And Poindexter, he would go around the edge and be a little quick one that could just cut around there.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree, man. Step, Marquise Step, transfer from Nebraska, former USC Southern California commit as well. So he's been highly recruited by some big programs. Landed with us last year, and I remember just being excited about the possibility of that caliber of an athlete in our running back room. We didn't get to see him a lot last year. We had a good stable of running backs, but then some injuries occurred. And when he got in late in the season, it was kind of like, whoa, who's this guy? Because like you said, he's a big old boy, strong, downhill runner. And honestly, the defense was lucky they're playing two-hand touch today, because he probably has a lot more yards and a couple more touchdowns if not for taking it easy, not popping pads today. Elijah Young, the Mizzou transfer, again, another just solid runner. Then Irvin Poindexter, we kind of know what we get from him, the Indiana transfer that was here last year. just a really solid, stable running back. Obviously, we didn't see LT Sanders today. I'm not sure why he wasn't getting on the field. On the sideline, he was. But we just know that's another back that's a change of pace, has a gear that I don't think any of those guys has. He's fast. Well, like you said, he makes fast people look slow. So I can't wait to see just how that rotation of running backs looks. I think you got a lot of different runners for a lot of different situations, and that's a good problem to have. So man, that running back room looks deep, and I think we're going to have some success there. Now, moving on to without a doubt the deepest position, and this has been the case for several years. Even losing a couple guys last year to eligibility, David Davis and Jalen Hall. We've lost guys transfer. Mitchell Tinsley transferred out, went to Penn State a couple years ago. We continue to lose talent because we're going to put guys in position to be successful and productive. And if we have quarterbacks on for a lot of yards, we're going to have wide receivers catching a lot of balls for a lot of yards. And that's obviously going to be the case this year. We brought in several guys from some high major big programs that, first glance today, ooh-wee, good luck, defenses. Have fun with that, D coordinators, because we've got some guys. I can't wait to hear you talk about them. I know I've got some thoughts and feelings about them too, but tell me about the pass catchers. I put wide receivers and tight ends together. What did you see from that group? Who did you like? Who did you love? What stood out to you? Tell me about the guys catching passes.
Well, I mean, this right here is where all the weapons are, if you ask me. Because the quarterback, the read is, he's going to sling it, and he's got to have people who can catch it. Corley, that boy is reliable as sun comes up in the east, goes down in the west. Corley's going to be a great wide receiver. Matheson, he was out there making catches today, scoring. Dalvin Smith, he was catching them there on the back of the end zone. That seems like that's his favorite place to catch them at, so he can tiptoe in there. River Helms, he's a second top recruit that we have ever brought in football. I mean, geez, that boy, he's the next entry into tight end U here at Western Kentucky. They got the Trevor Borland. He's a Buffalo transfer. I think if them two get in there together, River Helm and Trevor Borland, I think that right there is going to make defenses just lose their mind to which one to cover. Blue Smith, he's a Cincinnati transfer down here. He's a big, tall boy, 6'5". That boy is going to. He is going to tear defenses up because, people are going to try to double Corley, just like they did with I'm trying to think what the quarterback was a few years ago. Zappy's year.
Oh, Mitchell Tinsley.
Stearns. No, Stearns.
Stearns. Okay, got you.
Yeah. I remember whenever they were trying to kind of like box him in, one up top, one below him. Well, now, I mean, you got 3-4 different wide receivers that are very capable of catching the ball and running upfield and just slicing you up. You got Capers. He's an Auburn transfer. We played them last year. It didn't end very well, but hey, he must saw something that he liked and maybe catching that ball brought him here. I think between all of them wide receivers that we got, I think we have a great stable of wide receivers and tight ends just ready to take on defenses.
Yeah, I agree. And it's pretty crazy. We lost 2 tight ends to transfer. I didn't mention them. Joshua Simon went to South Carolina. Joey Belgian went to Cincinnati. So, in a way, Blue Smith was a trade for Joey Belgian, and then Capers coming from Auburn. That was the player to be named in the Gunnar Britton trade because that's where Britton ended up going for his last year of eligibility. But yeah, this wide receiver room, just as I kept listing them, all the highlights we saw today, Malachi Corley, the Yak King, literally led the nation in yards after catch, missed tackles force last year. Not just G5, but P5. Everybody. I know Some of those websites on Twitter, they don't want to put out, they just put out the P5 stats. Let's look at everybody, G5, because that kid can play. I call him Debo for a reason. I'm a 49ers fan. I'll let you know, Debo Samuel, he is that versatile wide receiver. You can put him all over the field, hand the ball off to him, throw it in the flat, over the middle. He's going to make you pay. He's going to get some yards. He's going to be hard to bring down. He's going to find the end zone. So Corley, yeah, he's that guy. He's wide receiver one. Blue Smith, I was really, really impressed by him today. Just seeing him from the stands, I didn't realize how big he was till I looked up his profile. Saw that he was 6'5", big body. Former Ohio State commit, played there. I don't think he ever saw the field, but practice with some wide receiver kind of there. Maybe that's a little peek into their offense and maybe their game planning. Having a guy familiar with them somewhat. But he came from Cincy, just underutilized. Like I mentioned in the beginning, him and Xavion Capers. They combined for 21 catches. Both of those, one of them 14, one of them 7, 21 catches between the two of them the last 3 years. I guarantee you that they are going to blow those numbers out of the water. It's not going to take but a couple weeks for those guys to have 7 and 14 catches overall. Talking about Matheson, man, he's just so quick. He's elusive when he gets the ball in the open field. He really reminds me of a Nick Norris type wide receiver. He finds those pockets in the zone, sits in them, gets the ball, and then he's a ping pong ball, man, just bouncing around, getting down the field, getting first down. Talk about Dalvin, probably one of the best athletes, just raw athletes on this team. Glasgow boy, right up the road from Bowling Green. Really enjoy when he's on the field. He's kind of that touchdown machine. When he's in there, we probably scoring a touchdown. And then we started throwing in some trick plays with him last year. He's throwing the ball last year. Apparently he's got a cannon on him. So, hey, versatile, can open up, spread the offense. I love it. You talk about River Helms, man, that kid has been buried behind just some really good tight ends and has served his dues. Special teams wise, has learned, has probably bulked up. And now when we saw him on the field, man, he's kind of a magnet. When that ball gets near him, he catches it. So, number 2 all-time high school recruit coming to WKU. So the talent's there. All we got to do is bring it out of him. Talk about Borland from Buffalo. Saw him catching balls, so good. Build that depth at tight end. It's Easton Messer, another wide receiver. He was mentioned specifically by Malachi Corley on Tyler Eaton's podcast, Beyond the Hill, being probably the spring MVP in Malachi's eyes. He's just a hard worker, comes every day, and is just going to be productive. And I'm not going to be surprised this year if, that's kind of what we see. And not going to be surprised at the same time if there's somebody that we didn't even mention today. Maybe it's somebody not even on the roster yet, that's still interested in possibly coming here. The portal's back open. Generally between now and the end of, the college semester, graduation, and even into the summer, you see more transfers, and we're going to pick up some guys. We may lose some guys, maybe some guys we've talked about. It may happen. When you have that much depth and someone feels like they might not get to play, it may happen. But with how much depth we have, granted, I don't want to lose anybody. I'll be clear about that. Don't want to lose any of these guys. They can all help us win. They can all make plays. But if we do, I think we're going to be okay. That's a pretty deep core of wide receivers and tight ends. So great problem to have. And, at this point, it's just become a Helton staple. We've got talent. We're going to keep talent there. We're going to find talent. We're going to develop talent. Talking next, we're going to touch on the defense. I know, like you said, they weren't exactly, it wasn't full contact, wasn't tackle, two-hand touch. There wasn't a lot really to take away from the defense. They did have 14 offensive series. If you went back and read the game notes, 14 offensive series, 7 scores, 7 stops. So good sign there. But, what are your takeaways from the defense as a whole? Who or what stood out to you on that side of the ball?
Oh, it was good to see defense make some of them stops today. And, if you cut down this offensive juggernaut to, if you have 14, you take away half their scoring or half their drives. I mean, that right there is just impressive as all get out. It was good to see Rome Weber out there on the field. And, of course, Jaquez Evan, Donuts. Good to have the donut back on the field out there. Just kind of going to try to stop some of them runs.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of, the defensive side of the ball, in a lot of ways, not only from turnover, just players that have left and eligibility being exhausted, and then coaches. There's been a lot of coach turnover on that side of the ball. As we move forward and we start doing our position breakdowns, the defensive side of the ball is definitely going to be the one I keep my eye on the most. Kind of the last couple of years, especially in these spring games, and then it translated last year into on the field results. We were near the nation lead in turnover margin. Just forcing the most turnovers and not committing many ourselves. So I hope that continues. Obviously, I hope we have a lot of ball hawks, just people making plays and causing fumbles and getting turnovers and interceptions. But we didn't see a lot of it today. We didn't see any interceptions that I can recall to speak of. I think one time there might have been a questionable fumble that might have hit the ground, but I think they blew it dead. But it's really hard to take away with the kind of the style we played today was really fast, up tempo. Quarterbacks were hiking the ball, getting it out quick. So we weren't going to see a lot of quarterback pressure. There weren't a lot of tip balls, interceptions, things of that nature. But we'll keep our eye on it. Obviously, there's gelling and improvement and competition that needs to continue to go on there. I'm not worried about the defense. I think we're still plenty talented there, but it probably is the question mark that I would take away from this exercise, and that would probably be the case even if all 11 guys came back, just because you don't know until the lights are on, and that's okay. But I think we're going to be fine there. Tyson Summers did a really good job last year. He's back, and continuity there, at the head man and on the defensive side of the ball is going to lead to good things, in my opinion. So let's move next into the offensive line. Again, we had some turnover there. A couple guys transferred out. We mentioned Gunnar Britton went to Auburn. Then we had Rusty Stats that went to Texas Tech. So we've got some new faces there. And at this point, it's obviously too early to Sharpie guys into definite starter positions. But we did see kind of a constant five that were out there when Reed was out there, which you would assume that was the first unit, the first team. So tell me who you saw. Tell me what you liked, what you took away from kind of that offensive line unit that was out there today with Austin Reed, kind of the presumed starters, at this moment as we speak. Still way too early to call them the starters, but what'd you see? Who'd you see?
All right, so at left tackle, we had Marshall Jackson. At left guard, we had Leslie. At center, we had Vincent Murphy. At right guard, we had Horton. And at right tackle, we had Dorsey. Those were the ones that we saw when Reed was out there. And I tell you, they kept him clean. He was not, what I saw, he was not pressured. He had time. Heck, he seemed like out there today, he could have brought his lunchbox out there, sat down, opened it up, ate a sandwich, chips, cookies, and drank his drink, and then got up and thrown the ball. I mean, he had all day back there on a couple of them snaps. And like you said, we lost a few last year, some big names. And, I mean, if these guys can fill in them slots and them holes, holy crap, we're going to have a great offensive line.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the most important things with this position, defensive line, also linebackers, is not just who those starting five are, but just building that depth of the position. Several new faces starting or that were penciled in. We're penciling in as starters right now, but all those guys, I'm pretty sure, saw action last year. So, it starts last year. It starts in spring ball. It starts in fall ball. It starts in the weight room. These guys are putting in the work and have to be ready because injuries are going to happen. Transfers are going to happen. you just never know. And just over the course of a game, you've got to rotate guys out eventually. People get tired. These are human beings, not robots. They're college athletes that are busting their butt every day. But like you said, I was impressed with the offensive line. Obviously our style and our tempo, we're quick to the line, quick to hike the ball, quick to get the ball out to a receiver or to a running back. I think that really plays in the favor of a newer, fresher offensive line that may not be used to holding pressure. We're not taking many 5-step drops and unloading, huge balls down the field. We will do that. We can do that, but they're typically, kind of timed out and intentional to the pace of the game, what's going on. Maybe you've been, jabbing the body several times and then you're going over the top trying to make that big play to open the field up. So I like what I saw. It is a question mark. It's not a concern, but new faces there. But I'm sure that those guys are going to gel and put it together and just be a really good offensive line like we've seen the last couple of years. Next man up, no matter who that is. I think we're going to be fine there. So kind of wrapping up, all the positions. Just obviously 3 weeks of practice just came to culmination today. We only saw today. We didn't get to see, all the practices for all 3 weeks. We've seen social media clips, players and coaches talking about what and who they've seen and what they've been impressed by. But Tyler, I'm asking you, who is your spring game MVP from who and what you saw today? Who's your guy that you're like, man, he was good and he's going to be a player this year?
I think mine is going to be Steph. I mean, I talked about it last episode when I said it's been a while since we had a 1,000-yard rusher. I want him to be that this year. I think he has everything. I think he has everything that he can to achieve that. But it's hard to do it whenever the ball gets thrown 70-80% of the time of what's going, of the offensive snaps.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with it there. I mean, Marquise Stepp, like we said, USC former commit, Nebraska former commit, now coming over playing for us. I mean, he's a weapon. He's a big boy. He reminds me of that Leon Allen type runner. Maybe not as versatile catching the ball. Haven't seen that yet. Not saying he can't do it, but just his body build, just being looks like just a weight room champ, man. Like he looks. I would not want to tackle him. I'm 5'10", 170 pounds. I'm not tackling anybody, but definitely not him. I mean, he's a big boy. I would say my MVP, just what I saw today and what I wasn't expecting, while I knew there was talent there, is going to be Blue Smith. As I've read more about him and I learned that he's a former Ohio State commit and was there for a year and then went to Cincinnati, and just underutilized, big body. And we saw today just made several down the field catches, had a couple big catch and runs. I was really impressed. And now you can put him on the other side of the field for Malachi Corley. And plus, we've already talked about some tight ends that are going to be in the slots. We've talked about Matheson. We've talked about Capers. We've talked about Dalvin and Helms. Pick your poison defenses, man. Like, I really can't say enough, but I really do expect Blue Smith to kind of step into that Dawood Davis role that was really kind of a big shot playmaker down the field. Going to go up, get contested balls when he needs to. Going to find those soft spots, going to run away from people and just kind of be, not wide receiver one. That's Corley in my eyes. That, far and away, he's going to get the target share. That's going to pad his stats. He's going to be that guy. But Blue Smith really impressed me today. Previously today, he was just, a really good, highly touted transfer from Cincinnati. And as I got to see him today, I was just really, really blown away by his potential. And it's still early. He's still learning the offense and putting together that comfort with Reed himself. So as they get more reps, good luck. there's a lot of points coming to the house. Buy more fireworks right now because it's going to happen. So, who is going to be your well, no, let's go most improved player. We've talked about a lot of new guys, but who would be your most improved player from last year that you got to see today? That maybe you didn't know that they were going to improve that much, or maybe you're just impressed by what you saw.
Well, if I'm able to, I'd like to say I got two. Belt camp. Last year when in the spring game, yeah, he seemed a little shaky in the pocket. And he seemed kind of smaller. He has bulked up, like you said, and he does just seem right at home there. He seems like he could sit back there and pick defenses apart. That from what I saw today. And my second one, and I know I sound like a broken record here, but I'm going to have to go with Step again. Last season, he had, I think, 26 carries for only 166 yards, which is 5 point something a yard. I'm thinking, or today, I saw, he made some big runs and he caught some good passes. I mean, I think them two are going to be my most improved because Corley, I mean, good Lord, that boy is good. And I don't know how you can top that. I'm sure he can. I'm sure he found a way somehow. But that boy is just good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Veltkamp's a really solid pick there. It's hard to argue with that because he was kind of a raw young body coming in at this point last year. Didn't get a lot of game time. And as he's got a year in the system now, obviously we've got a new offensive coordinator. We'll dive into the coaches stuff when we get into position breakdowns and just really combing over the roster. But it is a new offensive coordinator, still the same system, but he's had a year in, a college weight lifting system. His dad's a strength and training coordinator for Western, so he's probably had more than a year in a college D1 weightlifting system. But now he's also probably got the diet part a little bit more tuned in. Looks like he's filled out his body. He was kind of a, 6'4", 6'5" beanpole last year. That it's hard to put bulk and mass and muscle on that big a body with, the just amount of calories he's burning every day. But he definitely filled out, and when he was on the field today, looked very comfortable, looked very good. Like I mentioned when we talked about the quarterbacks, I am hopeful and excited for his future with Western Kentucky. I think he could be a very good quarterback whenever that time comes and whenever he's needed to play. So he definitely impressed me today. Obviously I don't really wish and hope that he has to get out there and play a lot this year. I hope he continues to get to learn behind, the nation's leading passer and probably a early round, day one type draft pick in Austin Reed, who's, could very well lead the nation in passing yards and touchdowns again. But if need be, I think he could be ready if called upon. So I do agree. Most improved. I would definitely pencil in Veltkamp there as well. So we've covered a lot, man. The spring game was just an absolute blast. Obviously, you and I got to link up. Adam Jepson joined us. Got to take in the entire game, just the whole campus environment and the mood, and just kind of had that game day kind of excitement that obviously we're several months away from it being the true game one game day, but just being on campus and on the football field was just great. And I know you're excited about it. I'm excited about getting ready for game one and just all the stuff that we get to talk about leading up to then. But man, today was fun. But I'm gonna let you give us some final words. Just tell me, just kind of what you're thinking. How today was. Give us some final words and then get us the heck out of here.
Well, it was great to be able to sit there and watch a game with you and Jepson. I mean, that right there was a great way to spend a Saturday, and it was it was awesome to see that pigskin flying through the air again. It seems like it's been forever, even though it was only about 4 months ago that we last saw it. 3.5, 4 months ago. Um, I am excited for this fall in football. I think it's going to be a great season. I'll save my predictions for a little bit later on, though, but it probably won't surprise many people the way I talk. But no, it's always good to, we was talking about softball and baseball today, and it's always good to win, a game home or away, but it's even better when you get to sweep the Owls in both baseball and softball. So good job there, toppers and all that. And I guess I just got one more question for you, buddy. Who has it better than us?
Nobody. Go
Nobody.
Tops.
Go Tops.
Later, guys.